all linked to the same thing, right? Which brings me to the last issue before we break. We already, 3 minutes more than the allocated time, but just so that we can answer the last question, let's paint one picture that we haven't talked about yet. I think Dato' Aminah alluded to it earlier just now, but talking about after sales, right? Can you paint a picture of what the after sales market is in Malaysia? This is something which we haven't really talked about at length. Maybe you can spend about a couple of minutes. What do you feel about this from the...
Well, there seems to be macam sporadic situation in which you have the OEs or the authorized workshops, and at the same time we have this so-called independent workshops. I think what is important moving forward is how can we still coexist, but at the same time trying to bring the after-sales service to a certain standard. You have to take safety into consideration, for example. Because at the end of the day, consumers are paying for this. One of the writers talk about how do you make car parts, more cheap or available. But at the same time, we also have to reckon with imitation parts, genuine parts, imitation parts. So what I'm trying to allude at is that there should be an effort, an integrated effort in which some form of standards or even certification, for the mechanics, so that the consumers have what we call peace of mind, whether they come to the authorized workshop or OE workshops or even independent workshops. And I believe, I'm sure my other colleagues in the panel will agree, manufacturers we are willing down, with the authorities to help out in terms of the syllabus, training, or in terms of best practices. Coming back to the issue of parts, yes, we are trying our very best, and I'm sure if we can work with the others, if we have the economics of scale, some common parts, for example, that can be used and can be manufactured locally. Last point before I go off, I think the other important aspect of all this, trying to link all this back, is that the creation or the social economic value that all of us bring, that we are creating jobs, opportunities, businesses to all people. It is a very important industry. That's my last point.
Right. Just to touch on the last statement there, our road tax, this is based on CC of engines alone. I don't know, what is the fairest standard for us to decide how much someone should be paying for road tax? I mean,
I would say that you pay as you go. I mean, if you travel a lot, you pay more. So how do you do that? Fuel. I mean, yeah, I drive a car, an old car, and my road tax is 2,000 ringgit a month. I rarely drive the car, but I understand the logic of this. I mean, the old law says that if I can buy a 3,000cc car, it means that I'm rich. I can pay the road tax. Unfortunately, I bought the car for only 15,000 ringgit. It's 22 years old. So right now I'm like, my wife, 2,000 ringgit every year and you hardly drive the car. There's no logic to it. So how? I'm also in the same boat as our friend there. No, obviously, I want the car to be cheaper. I can classify it as a classic car, but it's not as easy as you think. Yeah. Even if I change the steering wheel, it's not classic anymore. And I have to change it, I have to send it for inspection every year.
But I think that's where the difference comes from in this remark. First of all, we should differentiate between cars that are significantly older than the average and that are used by enthusiasts. And I see the point that actually, why should you punish those people? Because it's a hobby and it's not your main reason for transport in that case. So basically, there can be a solution. There are numerous solutions like that in Europe. But I think the other issue that is mentioned here, and that road tax based on cubic capacity, it's also an outdated thing. Because the question is, again, what do you want to achieve as a country? And if you want to go green, if you're really serious about this, then CO2 emissions, the carbon dioxide emissions, as well as your overall consumption is becoming a major issue. And then maybe that could be a direction for the future also to turn this around and come into a new area. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just caution you because the number of vehicles that are on the road is 10 million, you know. And what happened, and these are the people who own cars and they are paying road tax on a yearly basis. And that will have a major impact. So whatever decisions that the government make, I think as far as road tax in Malaysia, we're still very, very affordable. If you compare it with the other ASEAN countries, we are the cheapest. But we must not forget the fact that there are users of cars which is already in existence. You know, if you're talking about new technology, yes, it will help if you buy, but you cannot punish those who have bought it earlier.
But then there could be regulations for that as well by applying it from a certain date onward. I think there's solutions out there, but the question is, do we have the mindset really in the country to change this around? And do we really want to move forward along those lines? And do we give ourselves not too much time to also put it into a working order? Because otherwise we just lose time.
Yeah. Maybe I can just sort of like conclude this one. Really as the agency that looks into these policy-related matters, we, to us, this is the sort of thing that we would like to receive in this kind of talk forum, to change a road tax from a cubic capacity, to something else requires a mindset change, not only within government and people who makes policy like us, but also the community, the people, the society. So this actually spur that discussion. Other countries have started to use carbon-based as the road tax, and other countries have used mileage, etc., and so on. So this should spur, that interest to discuss more, about the fact that probably, it's about time that Malaysia change. One thing for sure, the NAP, I would like to insist, is going to change the mindset of Malaysian moving towards energy-efficient vehicle, technology, and etc. Okay? So there are alignment of these towards actually achieving mileage-based, achieving towards carbon-based, and etc. and so on. So the fundamental, I believe, the fundamental is there, will be introduced. The fundamental, in the NAP is there, but it's really to bring it to one step forward into something of such a nature, road tax based on something else apart from based on DCC.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Badani. So I think for now what I'll do is I'll close the first session. There are boxes running around. There's a gentleman at the back holding a box. If you have a question, please write the question down and put it in the box for us to discuss in the second session. So we'll take a 15-minute intermission. Please be back here at 15 minutes. So we'll start the second session at 6:30, and then we'll move on from then. Thank you very much.